Hey guys, tonight we're going way, way back, like before pyramids, before farming, before TikTok algorithms figured out you like history content. We're dropping into a time where your morning routine was basically not freezing to death. Picture this. You're curled up in a smoke-darkened cave, surrounded by your clanmates. Your bedding is a pile of old animal skins, and the air smells like last night's fire and something vaguely goatish. You stir, blinking in the dim light, filtering through a jagged crack in the stone wall. Outside, the sun is rising over a wild world. No cars, no concrete, no calendar to tell you it's Monday. Just the soft crunch of frost under bare feet, the distant hoot of an owl who's worked the night shift, and the faint buzz of insects already nosing around breakfast options. Spoiler alert, it might be you. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Post your location and local time in the comments so we can all see who's listening from where. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You rise slowly from the pile of fur and ash that counts as your bed. Your knees pop like old twigs. Your breath curls in the cold morning air. There's no clock, but the light creeping in means it's time to stretch, yawn, and begin another long day of staying alive. Your first order of business? Not smelling like a dead bison. Easier said than done. The smoke of the fire helped a bit. Smoke masks all sorts of odors, including your own. Historians still argue whether early humans actively used smoke as a deodorizer, or if it was just a convenient side effect of not freezing during the night. Either way, congratulations. You've accidentally washed yourself in fumes. But hygiene, in the world of cave dwellers, wasn't just a matter of finding water and splashing it on your face. It was a delicate dance between dirt, superstition, and survival. Take your teeth, for instance. There's a reason why early humans didn't all immediately fall apart from tooth rot. Their diet, low in sugar and rich in fibrous plants and raw meat, naturally scrubbed the teeth. Still, that morning breath, absolutely brutal. No peppermint involved. You shuffle toward the cave mouth, stepping carefully to avoid a cousin's stray elbow. Outside, a faint mist clings to the ground. The river below glistens, inviting and icy. You might head there later, if you're brave. For now, you pick up a soft, worn stick and begin chewing on the end. This is your toothbrush. Frayed at the tip, bitter tasting, and pulled from a shrub with medicinal bark, it's surprisingly effective. Some studies suggest these twigs helped reduce plaque and freshen breath, though whether they helped with the lingering scent of last night's mammoth stew is unlikely. A little ways from the cave, someone else is already up, stretching beside a pile of fire-blackened stones. You nod sleepily. No one talks much in the morning. Grunts, mostly. Maybe a shared look that says, "Did you hear that saber-toothed thing last night?" Your clothes, if they can be called that, are bits of stitched hide, softened by wear and occasional brain tanning, which is exactly as odd as it sounds. Using animal brains to soften leather. They're stiff from the chill, and you brush some frost off your shoulders. Hygiene tip number 1. Shake off whatever tried to nest in your armpits overnight. You head toward the water. This part of the morning is a gamble. Will it be calm? Will it be warmish? Or will you have to break a film of ice to splash your face? You kneel beside the stream, cupping frigid water in your palms. It stings, but you get used to it. You rub some over your face, scrub behind your ears, and pat your cheeks dry with a handful of moss. Software, slightly spongy. Only a little buggy. There's no mirror, of course, just your reflection in the rippling current. You look tired, weathered, and unbothered. A true caveman glow. Back at the cave, a child laughs as someone tries to shoo away a raccoon-like creature nosing through food scraps. The fire has been stirred back to life, and its warmth beckons. You sit nearby, letting your skin steam a little as it dries. Someone hands you a bone with some cooked marrow left. Breakfast of champions. Even in these early hours, there's a rhythm to things. Wake up, wash, kind of, feed, and maybe, if there's time, scrape the dirt from under your nails with a flint shard. Not because you're vain, though some cave folk probably were, but because bacteria is a party crasher and infection is a real buzzkill. Your feet, toughened by years of walking barefoot over every terrain imaginable, still get a daily rinse. Not because they smell, though they definitely do, but because going to bed with muddy toes just feels wrong. You scratch absent-mindedly at your scalp. No shampoo, just fingers, and whatever bugs didn't get the memo that your head isn't a permanent residence. But still, you feel relatively fresh. Historians still argue whether early humans had a concept of cleanliness like we do, or whether it was purely practical. Don't smell too much, don't itch too often, don't die of something preventable. Either way, there's a kind of logic to your caveman hygiene. Cold water wakes you up, the smoky air keeps bugs away, and chewing that stick makes your mouth feel slightly less like a compost pile. And now, the day can really begin. You're cleaner than you were an hour ago, which counts for a lot in a world without soap or spa days. There's hunting to do. There's berries to find. And somewhere out there, there's probably another clan with slightly funkier body odor than yours. Bath time. But make it prehistoric. You walk along the edge of the forest now, following a narrow game trail that winds toward the stream's bend. You're not alone. A few other clanmates pad behind you, bare feet slapping quietly against the mossy earth. Some carry rough stone scrapers. One has a gourd filled with rainwater, which they shake occasionally, as if hoping it will magically heat itself. You arrive at the usual bathing spot, usual being a very loose term here. It's just a bend in the river, where the current slows, deep enough to dunk yourself without floating off downstream. Today, it's cold. Not snow on the ground cold, but close. The air has that crisp bite, and your breath fogs thickly. Still, no one backs out. This is it, the closest thing to a shower you're going to get, and skipping bath day, even in the Stone Age, can make you public enemy number one around the fire circle. You strip down, tossing your hide clothes onto a flat rock. Steam rises off your skin before you even touch the water. You dip one toe in, instantly regret it. It feels like bathing in regrets and sharpened icicles. Still, everyone's watching, and pride is at stake. So you wade in, slowly, grimacing. The water is shockingly clear, and shockingly shocking. A full-body plunge leaves you gasping, heartbeat drumming against your ribs like a war call. But you scrub anyway, hands scraping along arms, chest, neck. No soap, no loofah, just friction and stubbornness. You reach for some sand from the riverbank. This is the Paleolithic exfoliant of choice. Gritty, yes, but also oddly effective. Scrubbing with sand helps slough off dead skin. And if you're lucky, maybe even some of the stubborn lichen patches from sleeping in damp corners. Historians still argue whether early humans bathed for comfort or purely survival. But the fact that riverside bathing sites appear repeatedly in ancient settlements suggests it wasn't a one-off. Clean bodies meant fewer parasites, fewer infections, and maybe, just maybe, a better shot at that shaggy-haired person across the fire, noticing you didn't smell like rotting fish. Rain also serves as a convenient stand-in for showers. You've been known to stand out during a downpour, face tilted upward, arms spread. Sure, it's chilly. Sure, it sometimes feels like being hit with 1,000 tiny pebbles. But afterward, you feel refreshed. Drenched, yes. Cold to the bones, yes. But a little lighter too. Puddles work in a pinch, especially after rainstorms. Cavemen were nothing if not resourceful. You've seen people roll in muddy puddles, just to scrub off dried-on sweat and grime, then rinse in cleaner water nearby. It's a 3-step system. Dirt, scrape, rinse. The caveman equivalent of a spa package. You glance upstream. Someone's dunking a toddler who clearly disagrees with the concept of cleanliness, if the shrieking is anything to go by. You remember being that kid, fighting the bath, only to later jump in voluntarily when it got warm enough. And speaking of warmth, during colder months, things get trickier. Bathing becomes less about rivers and more about creative workarounds. One method, steaming yourself over warm rocks in an enclosed space. Not quite a sauna, but close. Hot stones, fresh from the fire, placed in a pit, and covered with damp hide, create warm steam when water is dribbled on. You sit nearby, letting it rise up around you. It doesn't clean as thoroughly as water, but it opens pores, eases aches, and maybe, if the wind's right, chases off a few fleas. Another trick, wiping down with animal fat. No, really. Rendered grease from hunted game was sometimes applied to the skin and then scraped off with a flat stone or piece of bone. It pulled off dirt and dead skin along with it, like an oily, smelly version of a facial peel. And hey, in a pinch, the leftover fat keeps your skin from cracking in the wind, moisturizing and cleansing, all in one delightful smear. If you're really fancy, you add crushed herbs or charcoal to the mix, just enough for a subtle scent, something between smoky sweet and aggressively earthy. Who needs cologne when you can smell like freshly roasted tubers and cedar bark? One of the elders once told you that long ago, people believed the water spirits watched the river. If you bathed respectfully, they'd keep you clean and healthy. If not, well, maybe you'd end up itchy, or worse. Whether that's spiritual wisdom or early germ theory is anyone's guess. There's also the age-old technique of letting time do the work. Sometimes you don't wash. Sometimes you just wait until the grime becomes part of you. The body eventually finds its balance, or so the old hunters claim. But those same hunters smell like pickled deer hide, so you take it with a grain of, well, river salt. As you step out of the stream, shivering but triumphant, you reach for your furs. They're stiff, slightly damp. They smell like someone else's long-ago lunch, but they're yours, and they're warm. You pull them back on, steam still rising off your body, and grin. Bath complete. You feel 10% more human. On the way back, your skin prickles with the breeze, but there's something undeniably satisfying about the walk. Clean feet slapping cleanish earth. Mud between your toes in a way that feels intentional. Even the birds seem to sing a little brighter, though that may be the hypothermia setting in. And as the fire's warmth greets you once again, you settle in with your clan. Slightly cleaner, definitely colder, but somehow lighter. A little more ready to face the chaos of mammoth hunting, berry foraging, and lice dodging that lies ahead. Welcome to Paleolithic Bath Day. There's no towel service, but there's always sand. Later that day, you sit on a sun-warmed stone, gnawing the last bits of roasted marrow from a split bone. The morning's cold bath is a fading memory, replaced by the glow of the fire and the comforting weight of a full stomach. But there's still one problem lingering, like an uninvited guest. Your breath. Let's just say, if mint existed, it would have been your best friend. Or maybe not. Because in the Paleolithic world, you don't have toothpaste or mouthwash, or even the idea that brushing twice a day might save your molars. And yet, you do care. That strange fuzz on your tongue, the leftover bits of gristle between your teeth, it's uncomfortable. You want it gone. So you reach again for your trusty toothbrush. A stick. Specifically, a small twig from a tree your ancestors have long known isn't poisonous, tastes mildly bitter, and frays nicely when chewed. You bite the end, grinding it with your back teeth until it fans into a fibrous little brush. Now, you scrub. Up, down, across. It's not elegant, but it works. You spit to the side, bits of pulp, and something that might have been breakfast flying free. Some of your clanmates use fish bones to pick their teeth. Others favor bird feathers, porcupine quills, or even pine needles. Anything thin and stiff enough to wedge between molars becomes a makeshift floss. You once saw someone use a splinter of mammoth tusk. Not recommended. Historians still argue whether tooth cleaning was daily, ritualistic, or just done whenever you couldn't ignore the taste in your mouth anymore. But we know this much. Early human skulls often show remarkably good teeth. Why? The diet. No sugar, no processed carbs, no soda sipped all day through a straw. Instead, you eat fibrous roots, tough meat, and gritty plants. All of that naturally scrapes the enamel, like a self-cleaning mechanism. Bonus, no one's eating candy behind the cave. But that doesn't mean you're safe. Cavemen still got cavities, particularly as plant gathering evolved and honey made its rare, glorious entrance. There's always that one guy who discovers wild bees, gets stung 30 times, and proudly presents the comb like a trophy. Then everyone gorges on the sticky gold, smiling through the pain as it glues their teeth together. Chewing sticks are your defense, along with a little-known trick: charcoal. After a fire dies down, some people take a pinch of soft black ash and rub it on their teeth. It's gritty, yes, but mildly abrasive, strips away film. And maybe it's your imagination, but afterward, your breath doesn't smell quite as much like fermented rabbit. Some nights, sitting by the fire, you've seen an elder chant while cleaning his teeth. He insists the bitterness from the bark helps keep the rot spirits away. You're not sure about the spirits, but you are sure your gums feel tingly after a good chew. That might be the tree's natural antiseptic oil. Or it might be that you've accidentally chewed something meant for the tanning pile again. Whoops! Occasionally, you experiment. Crushed leaves from a mint-like herb. Smells great, but burns like betrayal. Smashed chalky stones mixed with animal fat. Weirdly effective, but leaves your mouth tasting like a cave wall. Once, a traveler from another tribe traded you a smooth pebble that he claimed would absorb mouth evil if held under the tongue. You did it for 3 days. All it did was give you a lisp. Your clan has its own oral hygiene traditions. Some believe whistling after dark pulls bad air through your teeth, helping cleanse the day's spirit. Others say laughter keeps the breath fresh. Hard to argue with that one. If nothing else, the sound of belly laughter echoing off cave walls makes everything feel just a little less damp and grimy. As you scrape the last bit of meat from your flint blade, you notice someone next to you using a stone chip to dig something out of a molar. It's both impressive and terrifying. You quietly offer your stick instead. They decline. I like the crunch, they grunt. You scoot away slightly. Dental pain, however, is a whole other beast. When someone gets a bad tooth, there's not much to do. No dentist, no numbing gel. The options range from prayer to extremely questionable herbal poultices to the infamous knock it out with a rock approach. You've seen it once. It worked. Sort of. The screams were memorable. So yes, you chew your stick faithfully, twice a day when you remember. You try not to bite down too hard on bones, and you avoid honeycombs unless you really need the sugar high. Your teeth are your tools. They open things, they grind things, they are things. Losing them is losing a part of your daily function. Interestingly, one of the elders still has all his teeth. He's well past 50, which basically makes him an immortal wizard in caveman terms. His secret? He claims he never chews on the left side. Only the right. Ever. Keeps the wear even. You don't question it. Historians still argue whether dental care was considered part of hygiene or more of a survival tactic, but clearly it mattered. Cleanish teeth meant longer chewing life, fewer infections, and slightly better odds of surviving raw root season without gum rot. You toss your used chewing twig into the fire and grab another. It's a simple habit, but one that keeps your mouth functional, and your clan grateful you're not the one breathing bison breath in their direction all night. As dusk falls, you feel a satisfying grit-free texture along your molars. Maybe it's the stick. Maybe it's wishful thinking. Either way, your jaw unclenches. Your breath may still not be minty fresh, but in this world, it's the thought and the scraping that counts. The fire crackles low, casting lazy shadows along the cave wall as you stretch out on a patch of smooth stone. Your skin, still tingling from the day's rinse in the river, starts to itch, ever so slightly. Not from dirt exactly, but from the combination of dried sweat, smoky air, and whatever microscopic mischief lives in your tunic. You give your forearm a lazy scratch with one dirty fingernail and sigh. Cleanliness in your world is not about smelling nice. It's about not feeling like you're wrapped in old cheese. And this, right here, is where Paleolithic skincare begins. Not with lotions and spa days, but with the satisfying, rhythmic grind of sand across skin. Your clan doesn't bathe every day. Water is precious in dry seasons. But every day, without fail, you rub something against your skin. Sand, ash, bits of bark, even dry grass if that's all you have. It's not luxurious, but it gets the job done. Like exfoliation without the scented candle. You grab a fistful of sand from a shallow dish near the fire. It's warm from the heat. Slowly, methodically, you start scrubbing your arms, your neck, behind your ears. The grains stick to lingering grease and dust, dragging away layers of the day. You don't scrub hard, just enough to feel that satisfying drag of roughness. You'll sleep better tonight knowing your skin isn't covered in yesterday's sweat. And it's not just sand. Ash, collected from the edges of the fire pit, makes a surprisingly effective cleanser. Fine and soft, almost like talcum powder, but with a slightly grittier edge. Some nights, especially when water is scarce, you mix it with a few drops of animal fat and smear it over your chest and shoulders. The result? Less itch, less shine, and, according to the elder who claims to be part fox, it wards off skin demons. Historians still argue whether Paleolithic people understood hygiene through a medicinal or magical lens, but what's clear is that these rituals were intentional. You don't randomly rub sand on your face unless there's a purpose. Whether that purpose is cleanliness, protection, or spiritual armor is up for debate. Now, about that animal fat. Rendered from deer, boar, or mammoth if you're lucky, this oily stuff is your all-purpose balm. It moisturizes, it protects from windburn, it seals in body heat on freezing nights. And when mixed with crushed herbs, say wild mint or crushed pine needles, it becomes a surprisingly decent body rub. A little goopy, yes, but soothing. If you're feeling extra, you even dab a bit on your cheekbones for that Paleolithic glow. But it's not all beauty and balm. Sometimes, skincare gets weird. Like that time, your cousin smeared himself head to toe in red ochre clay and lay in the sun for hours. He said it made his skin strong like rock. It definitely made him look like a slow roasting yam. But you had to admit, afterward, his skin did feel smoother. Or maybe that was just the clay hardening everything into a natural crust. You've tried it too, smearing yourself in clay before hunting trips. Not only does it help block insects and sun, but it also masks your scent. The downside, you can't scratch your nose without creating a small dust storm. There's a woman in your clan, tall, quiet, usually covered in feathers, who swears by crushed snail shells mixed with deer tallow. She says it keeps her skin from peeling like bark. You've never tried it yourself, but her skin does look oddly luminous in firelight. On especially itchy days, you roll gently against a piece of rough bark. It's crude, but effective, like a caveman loofah. The sensation of sloughing off flakes and grime with each rub is deeply satisfying. You finish by patting your skin with dry moss, soft, faintly scented of the forest, and blissfully cool. And if things get really bad, like post-hunting trip where you fell in a bog bad, there's always the emergency ritual, the smoke cleanse. You crouch by the fire, allowing the smoke to roll over your body, lifting away bacteria and insects with the heat. The elder calls it chasing out the crawlies. You call it a low-key sauna. Some clan members believe the skin absorbs memories of the day, that every bruise, scrape, and bit of dirt is a story. So, they wash themselves at night, not just to clean, but to forget. A ritual shedding of dust and burden before sleep. You find that oddly comforting, even if you mostly just want to stop itching. One of the odder quirks you've picked up, using smooth river pebbles to massage the skin. There's something meditative about it. You rub the warm stone in circles on your shoulder, letting the weight press into tired muscle. No one taught you that. It just feels right. Of course, skincare isn't foolproof. You've seen clanmates come down with rashes, fungal spots, even strange lesions that no salve seems to fix. Some believe these come from angry spirits in the mud. Others think it's bad meat. You suspect it's sleeping on damp moss, but you're not a shaman. You just scrub and hope. Historians still argue whether prehistoric grooming habits were passed down as oral tradition, learned through trial and error, or shared across clans via trade and migration. Maybe it's all three. All you know is, the longer you live, the more you learn how to keep your body from turning against you. As night falls and the fire dims, your skin feels clean. Not hospital scrubbed, not scented soap slick. Just clean in the way the earth intends. Scraped, soothed, and still a little smoky. You lie back, head on a bundled pelt, and close your eyes. Tomorrow might bring rain, or a lice outbreak, or another cousin with an experimental ointment involving fermented beetle juice. But for now, you're content. The itch is gone. The grime is off. And your skin, beneath the dirt, feels like it remembers who you are. You wake up to something lightly crawling across your forehead. Is it a breeze? Number it? Has legs. You slap without opening your eyes and feel the tiny crunch of a squashed insect. Welcome to Paleolithic hair care, where your scalp is a jungle and the tenants are rarely invited. Hair, for a caveman, is both a blessing and a battlefield. It keeps you warm. It offers some protection from sunburn, but it also traps dirt, grease, smoke, and critters. And without shampoo, or the concept of conditioner, it's a daily challenge to stop your head from becoming a rodent Airbnb. Your own hair is long. It hasn't been cut in moons, and the ends curl unpredictably. It's matted in places from sleeping on stone, stuck together with a little marrow from yesterday's dinner, and faintly smells like last night's fire. Still, it moves when you shake it. That's a good sign. The first order of business is a combing session, Paleolithic style. You grab your grooming tool, a forked piece of bone whittled smooth by hand. It's thick, more rake than comb, but it does the job. You start at the ends, slowly teasing apart knots, pulling through with care. A snag means you pause and work gently. Tearing hair out invites infection through the scalp. Plus, it hurts. A lot. Nearby, another clanmate squats beside a flat rock, carefully plucking nits from her son's head. She uses her fingernails like tweezers, inspecting each tiny culprit before squashing it between two stones with a satisfying pop. Lice are a constant companion in cave society. Everyone has them. It's not a question of if, just how many. Historians still argue whether early humans viewed lice as pests to be exterminated or simply part of life. There's evidence of enite combs carved from bone and shell, so someone was definitely trying. But there's also evidence of lice in burials, on mummified scalps, even trapped in ancient resin, implying they weren't always a deal breaker. You use your bone comb, then sprinkle a little crushed pine bark into your hair. It smells sharp, earthy, and, supposedly, discourages bugs. Some people rub in wild garlic or mint. Others go bolder, a mix of ashes and rendered fat, slicked back into a paste that not only masks odor, but also hardens into a natural hair gel. Who knew Paleolithic hair had hold? Hairstyles in your clan are a blend of function and flair. Warriors often braid sections tightly to keep them out of their eyes, sometimes threading bits of leather or beads into the strands. Hunters might shave parts of their head with flint blades, partially for cooling, partially for intimidation. You've seen women braid feathers into their hair, or decorate it with river-polished stones strung on sinew. Beauty exists here. It just smells a little more herbal. There's one elder whose beard is so long it's braided into 3 thick ropes. He claims each braid holds a memory. You've never had the patience for that, but you have tried the soot trick, rubbing charcoal into your hair to darken it. It works, sort of, until it rains and you leave black streaks down your face. On especially itchy days, you go full reset, shave it all off. Not with a razor, those don't exist, but with a sharp-edged flake of obsidian. It's dangerous. You nick your scalp, a lot, but afterward, the breeze on your bare head feels like bliss. Some clanmates say a shaved head shows spiritual strength or mourning. Others just say it keeps the bugs confused. One of the more curious grooming traditions involves fire. Controlled, of course. A cousin of yours swears by singeing the ends of split hairs with a smoldering stick. Just a quick flick, no more frizz. It smells awful, and the risk of catching fire is high. But hey, you've seen worse ideas. Like the time someone tried washing their hair with fermented fish juice. Still not over that. You also have to contend with beard care. Facial hair grows wild here, untamed, wiry, and often full of crumbs. Some men let it go full cave lion. Others trim it with sharp shells or scrape it down with flint. A few, in what might be a fit of self-expression or total madness, carve patterns into their stubble. Then there's the social side of grooming. Hair maintenance isn't always solitary. Around the fire, clan mates sometimes take turns braiding or delousing each other. It's both bonding and hygienic. You sit between a friend's knees, feeling their fingers work through your hair, tugging gently, sometimes humming. It's calming, personal, proof that even in a world of predators and hunger, there's time for care. Of course, grooming rituals vary between clans. You've met travelers who shave eyebrows as part of seasonal rituals. Others oil their hair with melted fat and roll in flower petals. You once encountered a woman from a river clan who dyed her hair orange with crushed root paste. It was stunning. It also turned her forehead the same color for a week. Historians still debate whether hair rituals were purely practical, symbols of identity, or steeped in ritual. Likely, they were all three. Your own clan believes cutting hair during the full moon makes it grow faster. Whether that's true or not, the fire-lit haircuts always feel festive. Right now, you finish your combing, fingers smoothing out the last stubborn tangle. You pick out a tiny beetle, still alive, and flick it into the fire. You wrap a thin strip of sinew around your forehead to hold your hair back. Functional, stylish, cave chic. You scratch behind your ear one last time, sigh, and glance around. The day is warming. The hunt will begin soon. But for a moment, you feel fresh. Your scalp breathes. Your hair is, if not clean, at least managed. And in the Paleolithic world, managed is the pinnacle of personal hygiene. You're walking through the forest now, spear in hand, hunting party at your side. The wind shifts, carrying with it the scent of damp bark, rotting leaves, and something else. Something human. Someone forgot to roll in ash this morning. Probably the same guy who insists that bathing is for dry seasons only. You make a mental note to walk upwind of him during the tracking phase. Sweat comes quickly in this world. You're climbing hills, ducking through brush, lifting, hauling, dragging. And it's not the neat, glistening kind of sweat you see in fitness ads. It's the full body, earthy scented, long fermented soup of survival. And while you've become nose blind to your own particular tang, you're acutely aware of everyone else's. Body odor is, quite frankly, part of the Paleolithic package. You can't escape it, but you can manage it. That's where the magic of smoke and ash comes in. You pause beside a tree and reach into your pouch for a small handful of cooled ash, saved from last night's fire. You rub it under your arms, into the creases of your elbows, even across the soles of your feet. It sounds bizarre, but it works. The ash absorbs moisture, masks odor, and has the added benefit of keeping away biting insects. You've seen others mix ash with crushed herbs for a kind of proto-deodorant paste. It smells faintly like burnt thyme and sweat, but hey, better than just sweat. Historians still argue whether smoke baths were used deliberately to control odor or simply a side effect of huddling around fire pits. You're inclined to believe both. The smoke dries the skin, chars away lingering bacteria, and leaves behind a scent that's strong, but neutral. More campfire chic, less rotting meat. After a successful hunt, you return dragging a carcass behind you, exhausted and absolutely drenched. Your armpits could clear a 5-meter radius, and your clan mates all politely keep their distance as you collapse by the fire. Time for another Paleolithic trick. Dirt as deodorant. You scoop a little dry soil and rub it into your palms, then pat it across your chest and back. The fine particles soak up sweat and create a kind of second skin. It's not glamorous, but it does the job. Insects are less interested, and you feel vaguely less offensive. Some people go for aromatic plants. You once spent a whole summer rubbing crushed juniper berries under your arms. It worked beautifully until the wasps found you. After that, you switched to dried moss and clay. A less aggressive approach. The elders have a theory. The stinkier you are, the more powerful you become. Your smell tells your story, one old hunter said, sniffing the air with pride. He's convinced his body odor once scared off a mountain lion. You think the lion just had better plans. There's also a peculiar ritual in your clan. Once a month, everyone participates in what might generously be called a scent exchange. You roll in ashes, then hug your closest kin, sharing sweat and smoke until your entire group smells roughly the same. It's meant to build unity, or at least ensure no one person smells worse than the others. Interestingly, not all smells are bad. Fresh sweat from a hunt smells different than old sweat from stress. There's morning stink and evening funk. You've even started to recognize individuals by their personal scent profile. One friend smells like pine needles and animal fat. Another, smoke and salt. Yours? You suspect it's something between scorched leather and determination. But sometimes, no amount of ash or dirt can help. After days of travel or prolonged illness, the odor becomes legendary. In those cases, the smoke cleanse is upgraded to full body immersion. You sit in a dugout pit, lined with hot stones. Water is splashed. Steam rises. You sweat more. And finally, when your pores have opened and your hair is wilted, you emerge, soaked, steaming, and temporarily neutralized. You've also noticed animals react to scent. On one hunt, a deer caught your smell and bolted before you even got within range. After that, you started rubbing your body with fresh leaves and rolling in mud before long treks. The result? Less attention from prey, more attention from curious raccoons. It's a delicate balance, and when courting season arrives, everything changes. People start adding scent accents, wildflower oil rubbed into wrists, smoke filtered through dried lavender, even fermented berry paste behind the ears. You once smeared honey across your chest to impress someone. It worked, until the ants arrived. You learned an important lesson that day. Historians still debate whether cavemen found body odor attractive or repellent. Some believe it played a key role in mate selection. Others argue it was just background noise. You suspect both are true. Some scents spark comfort, others signal danger. And in the dance of survival, your nose is as much a guide as your ears or eyes. Tonight, as you sit near the fire, watching sparks drift into the night sky, you lean back and sniff the air. It smells of wood smoke, sweat, roasted marrow, and the faint tang of crushed herbs from someone's latest deodorizing experiment. It's not clean in the modern sense, but it's familiar, lived in, honest. You rub a little extra ash under your collarbones, lean back, and sigh. In this world, where soap hasn't been invented and perfume is whatever's growing nearby, cleanliness isn't about perfection. It's about balance. Stink, managed. Sweat, acknowledged. Odor, repurposed. And really, when everything else is trying to eat you, smelling a little smoky isn't the worst thing. You wake the next morning to the rich, unmistakable scent of cooked fur. Not the good kind either. Someone left their damp pelt cloak too close to the fire again, and now the cave smells like wet dog that's been lightly toasted. You groan and pull your own clothes tighter around you. At least your tunic only smells like smoked deer. Mostly. Clothing, for you and your clan, isn't just about modesty. It's armor against weather, insects, and the 1,000 tiny scrapes that come with Paleolithic life. But those layers of hide and fur, they trap everything. Sweat, blood, ash, last week's dinner drippings. And let's not even talk about the time someone fell asleep wearing a fish-smearing ritual tunic. So how do you wash your clothes? Short answer, you don't. Not in the sudsy modern way. Soap doesn't exist yet, but that doesn't mean you wear your mammoth fur leggings until they sprout mushrooms. There are methods. Primitive, yes, but surprisingly effective. The first and most important tool in your laundry arsenal: smoke. You hang your clothing over a low, smoldering fire for hours. Not to dry it, though that helps, but to fumigate it. Smoke chokes out parasites like lice and mites. It dries oils. It masks everything. You've seen pelts go in reeking of rot and come out smelling like a mesquite brisket. Not edible, but vastly improved. Historians still argue whether this was a hygiene practice or simply a preservation technique. But it's clear that early humans knew the value of smoke. There's even a designated smoke rock in your cave, a flat stone by the fire where clothes are laid out each night, like offerings to the god of not smelling horrible. Sometimes, if you're near a stream and feeling ambitious, you'll do the wet method. Soak clothes in cold water, scrub with sand, maybe rub with crushed plant fiber or deer brain paste. Brain, yes, animal brain contains natural emulsifying agents, making it weirdly effective for cleaning and softening hides. Of course, it also means your tunic smells like thoughtful cannibalism for a few days. You remember once dropping your leg wrap in a puddle of fermented fruit. It came out surprisingly fresh smelling until the bees found you. Lesson learned. No apricot-scented loincloths. Then there's urine. Don't cringe. Okay, cringe a little. But full honesty, it works. Aged urine, known later by the Romans as chamber lye, contains ammonia, which breaks down grease and odor. In your clan, it's mostly used on tougher hides, left to soak in clay pots before being rinsed in running water. The smell is intense, but the results are undeniable. Even the grumpiest elder can't argue with a pelt that's soft, pliable, and marginally less pungent than before. You've tried it once, held your breath the entire time. You still swear your hands smelled weird for a week. Some clanmates swear by beating garments on rocks. You've watched one of the younger hunters slam his tunic into the riverbank 20 times in a row. It knocks out dirt and improves your upper body strength. Win-win. Drying clothes takes finesse. Lay a wet pelt in direct sun, and it hardens into something resembling stiff cardboard. Instead, you drape it over curved tree branches in shaded wind. If you're lucky, a curious goat won't wander off with your loincloth mid-process. If unlucky, you chase said goat through the woods, flapping half-dressed, swearing vengeance. You've tried making clothing out of woven plants, grass skirts, bark cloaks, but they rarely last. Skin and fur, for all their funk, are more durable. Still, grass-stuffed boots do make for excellent insulation in winter. If you change them weekly, the moss doesn't go moldy. Usually. To personalize your clothes, you sometimes stitch in feathers, beads, or painted symbols. You've also carved a pattern into the edge of your hood with obsidian, just to mark it as yours. After all, when everyone's wearing various shades of mud, it helps to accessorize. Laundry isn't just about clothing, either. Sleeping mats, baby wraps, and ceremonial robes all need occasional freshening. Those items are treated with extra care. Mats are aired out under moonlight, thought to pull the stink to the stars. Ritual robes, dabbed with flower oil, never fully cleaned. Their power lies in the buildup, apparently. One of the more creative traditions in your clan involves cleansing by wind. You hike to a high cliff, stand facing the breeze, and hold your garments out like sails. The wind is believed to carry away bad spirits, along with the smell of 2-week-old bear fat. Whether this works or not is unclear, but it's definitely more scenic than urine soaking. You've also learned that some stains are status symbols. Blood from a good hunt? Badge of honor. Clay from a healing ritual? Leave it. Berry smears from a feast? Wear it with pride. Only mildew and mystery goo from the cave corner warrant immediate attention. Your clothing tells a story, not just of where you've been, but how often you roll in the dirt, how many fires you've slept beside, how good you are at dodging fish guts during skinning season. It's a living history written in grease, soot, and fur. Tonight, as you stretch your tunic tight and pin it with a bone clasp, you catch a faint scent of pine smoke and wild thyme. You grin. That means someone, probably you, dried it near the herb fire yesterday. It's not perfume, but in your world, it's close. The fire crackles. The smoke rises. Around you, others lay their clothes out for tomorrow. Some steam, some sizzle. One catches briefly, but it's padded out with practiced calm. Laundry night, Paleolithic edition. Not glamorous, not fragrant, but undeniably effective. The morning sun filters through the trees like golden syrup, slow and sticky. You stretch with a groan, joints cracking like dry twigs, and rise to join the others gathered in the open space near the fire. Today isn't about hunting or foraging. It's a grooming day, communal, rhythmic, and oddly festive. You settle into your usual spot on the grooming circle's edge, a flat stone worn smooth from years of use. Others gather beside you, forming a loose semicircle of sleepy humans holding sticks, feathers, shells, and small bundles of herbs. Someone plucks at a crude flute. Someone else hums a droning tune. Welcome to Paleolithic Spa Day. Despite the grit and grime of everyday life, your clan treats grooming as more than just a personal chore. It's ritual, a shared act, part necessity, part ceremony, part social glue. In this space, surrounded by birdsong and smoke, you get cleanish and get closer. You lean forward, hair hanging loose, and a friend behind you begins braiding it with careful fingers. You return the favor for the person in front of you, knotting their tangled mane into something semi-manageable. As you work, the group murmurs softly, exchanging stories, jokes, and the occasional exasperated yelp when a knot proves especially stubborn. And then, the grooming begins in earnest. Out come the tweezers, slivers of bone, sharpened wood, even crab claws. You pluck hairs from armpits, eyebrows, and, yes, the occasional toe. Not for vanity, really. More to keep bugs from nesting in inconvenient places. Historians still argue whether these grooming rituals had symbolic meaning, but the consistency across early cultures suggests they were more than just idle pastimes. Grooming together, like eating and dancing, helped reinforce social bonds. It was how you showed care, how you said, "You matter enough to get this tick off your scalp." You exchange grooming tools with someone across the circle. They hand you a shell filled with oily resin from a tree. You warm it between your palms, then rub it along your forearms. It smells like burnt citrus and old bark, strangely pleasant. Supposedly, it repels fleas and softens skin. Your arms glisten in the sun, sticky but soothed. Someone laughs nearby. One of the children has dipped his entire face into a pouch of crushed berries, attempting to paint like the grown-ups. His cheeks are stained deep purple. His smile is berry-toothed and unbothered. Next, you reach for a flat stone and begin scraping the soles of your feet. Layers of hardened dirt and dead skin flake away. It's both satisfying and mildly horrifying. You hum quietly as you work, matching the rhythm of others doing the same. One person even taps their scraper against a drumstone, turning hygiene into percussion. There's a quiet moment as everyone focuses. The only sounds are scraping, plucking, the soft flap of furs being shaken out. You close your eyes and breathe in the earthy, smoky scent of the group, a strangely comforting blend of pine, grease, and humanity. Today, someone has brought mud, thick, wet, mineral-rich. They smear it on their face and arms with practiced strokes, letting it dry into a pale crust. You follow suit, scooping a handful and pressing it onto your cheeks. It's cold, smooth, grounding. When it dries and cracks, you'll rinse it with rainwater and feel, briefly, like your skin belongs to the earth again. One elder begins a chant, low and rhythmic. It's not religious, not exactly. Just a song passed down for moments like this. A song about rivers and seasons, about smoke and dust, about how even wolves must clean their paws. Nearby, someone else mixes a paste of crushed insects and plant resin, used to seal wounds or soothe burns. Today, it's used on a nasty scrape from yesterday's hunt. It stinks, The patient winces, but afterward, the pain eases. Even here, even now, healing is part of the ritual. And then, armpit plucking, the least glamorous and most communal of acts. You raise your arm, brace yourself, and let your grooming partner do their worst. A dozen tiny tugs later, your underarm is patchy but less itchy. You return the favor with a solemn nod. No words needed, just shared suffering and mutual relief. Historians still debate whether this kind of grooming had links to fertility, status, or coming-of-age traditions. In your clan, it's simple. If someone helps you clean your feet and scrape your back, they're basically family. As the session winds down, a pot of warm water is passed around. You rinse your hands, your face, your comb. A few people wash their ears with damp moss. Others massage their calves with pebbles or lay back in the sun, arms outstretched, drying like lizards on a rock. There's laughter, some gentle teasing. Someone breaks wind with unfortunate timing and is promptly renamed Thunder Belly. You all chuckle. No one minds. This is what it's about. Being together, being human, and doing what you can to smell slightly less like a compost pile. By the time the sun climbs higher, your skin tingles with cleanliness. Your hair is neat, your fingernails are empty of gunk, and your underarms are only moderately sore. You stand slowly, brushing dust from your legs, and share a smile with those around you. It's not a luxury, it's survival, done side by side, with shared tools, shared patience, and shared smoke. In this world, where every day brings scratches, stings, and dirt in every crevice, grooming together is not about vanity. It's about dignity, about saying, I see you. Let me help you not smell like yesterday's hunt. And tomorrow, when the lice return, as they always do, you'll do it all again. With bone combs, awkward braids, and maybe even that mud mask that makes your skin feel like sandstone. You've wandered a little way from the cave, past the grooming circle, down the familiar animal trail, lined with thorny shrubs and footprints from every kind of creature, human and otherwise. You're searching for a quiet place to take care of business. And no, we don't mean trading hides or crafting arrowheads. We mean going to the bathroom. In the Paleolithic world, nature is your toilet. But that doesn't mean it's a total free-for-all. Over time, your clan, like others, has developed unspoken rules. Spots near water sources, absolutely forbidden. Within sniffing distance of the sleeping area, also a no-go. There's a reason the flat rock behind the berry thicket is everyone's favorite. It's secluded, shaded, and mercifully downwind. You reach the familiar cluster of ferns and squat low. Not glamorous, not private, really, but effective. You glance around instinctively, not for privacy, but for predators. Priorities, right? When you're done, you grab a handful of dried leaves, not too crinkly, not too smooth, and wipe. If it's winter, moss is better. Cold, but soft. Once, a reckless cousin tried using pine cones. You still shudder remembering the screams. Historians still argue whether Paleolithic humans had designated latrine areas or simply practiced personal avoidance. In your clan, it's a bit of both. There's no carved sign or stone marker, but everyone just knows. Certain groves are for that, and others are sacred. You break that rule, you clean it up, probably with your hands. Sometimes, older clanmates burn dung piles. It's smoky, but practical. Keeps flies down, masks odor, and the ash makes decent soil for planting. Or burying whatever you don't want someone stepping in tomorrow morning. You remember one memorable summer, when an especially creative hunter dug a trench lined with flat stones and a sitting log across the top. You called it the throne. It was majestic. It lasted 3 weeks before a storm washed it away. Still, legend lives on. What about nighttime? That's where the real adventure begins. Leaving the cave in pitch black, guided only by stars, and the hope that the rustling you hear is not a hungry badger. Terrifying. Some people just hold it. Others use a special night bowl, a carved-out hollow stone kept near the sleeping area. It's emptied at dawn, usually by whoever drew the shortest stick or annoyed the elders that week. In colder seasons, going outside is downright dangerous. You once tried squatting on a frozen log and nearly fused with it. That year, you learned to carry a pot lined with dry grass. Not ideal, not proud, but functional. Disposal is key. The clan has rules about burying waste, using sticks to stir ash over top, and never, ever leaving it near high traffic zones. The last person who ignored that rule woke up with someone else's sandal firmly embedded in their side. Some people go farther, using ritual chants as they relieve themselves, asking the spirits to carry away the burden or hide what was once within. You don't chant. You hum, quietly. It helps pass the time and distract from the smell. Once, a visiting group taught your clan to use charcoal dust afterward, to clean, to neutralize scent, and to bless the whole. It caught on fast. Now, you often carry a pouch of the stuff tucked into your belt. It gives the whole process a sense of ceremony. Children are taught young. You remember being led by the hand, shown the special log and the do not go here moss patches. Accidents were handled gently. After all, this was part of life, like eating or sleeping. Everyone does it. No one wants to step in it. And yet, there's still a little mystery in it all. One elder claims that placing a small stone near your latrine spot guards against disease. Another insists that whistling afterward keeps bad spirits away. You've never seen proof either way, but you do find yourself tossing a pebble behind you, just in case. Historians still debate whether these practices were about hygiene, habit, or hidden belief systems. You think they're all tangled together. Cleanliness, yes, but also a strange respect. And knowing that even your most private acts affect the whole group. You finish your business, wipe one last time with moss, and dig a shallow hole to bury it all. Quick, neat, respectful. You sprinkle a bit of ash from a pouch, pat the earth flat, and move on. No trace. That's the rule. As you rejoin the others, someone smirks. Did the ferns give good advice? They ask. You roll your eyes. Everyone's a comedian when it comes to cave toilets. But you laugh too. Because really, if you can't joke about it, you're probably taking life too seriously. By now, the fire is stoked again. Someone's roasting tubers. You grab one, still warm, and settle onto a log. Cleanish hands. Cleanish conscience. The breeze shifts, and you catch a whiff of wild mint. Or maybe that's wishful thinking. You stretch your legs, thankful for another day, where everything, even that, worked as it should. Because in the Paleolithic world, staying clean isn't just about soap and water. It's about knowing where to go, where not to go, and respecting the land that lets you live. You're squatting by the fire, rubbing smoke into your freshly laundered pelt, when you feel it again, that maddening crawling sensation at the back of your neck. A quick scratch, another, then a dig with your fingernail. Yep, there it is. Tiny, fast, uninvited, lice. You flick the offender into the flames with practiced disgust, then mutter under your breath. They're back. Not that they ever really left. In this world, where hygiene is a battle waged daily with sand, smoke, and increasingly creative use of herbs, parasites are the arch nemesis. Lice, fleas, ticks, mites, you name it. They don't care about your tribal rank or how many mammoths you've brought down. They just want your blood and your warmth, and they are very good at getting both. Parasites are so common that their absence, not their presence, is the real cause for alarm. If you don't have at least some itching, people might wonder what strange spirits are protecting you and whether they're contagious. You reach for your bone comb, now as much a weapon as a grooming tool, and rake it methodically through your hair. The teeth are wide, so most of the knits slip through. You grimace, then do what everyone else does: pick them out with your nails. Historians still argue whether lice were seen as part of the natural order or a sign of impurity. But one thing is clear: they were omnipresent. Cave dwellers had lice in their hair, in their furs, and, unfortunately, in places you'd really rather not think about. You've tried all the tricks: rolling in ashes, rubbing in cedar bark paste, sleeping close to the smoke pit. You even once shaved your entire body with a dull obsidian shard. That lasted a week, until the cold hit and you missed your insulating fluff. You were clean, yes, but also a shivering, miserable skeleton of a man. There are worse things than lice, though. Much worse. Like scabies. Those invisible mites burrow under the skin, leaving trails of madness behind. You remember a season when half the clan had the night itch, red rashes, angry scratching, restless sleep. The only cure? A foul-smelling brew of boiled bark and lard slathered on like frosting. It worked, eventually. The smell lingered for weeks. And let's not forget ticks. Sneaky little blood balloons. You've had them in your armpits, behind your knees, once even between your toes. You use a sharp flake of flint to pry them out, being careful not to leave the head. One woman in the clan swears by singing to them as she pulls them, says it calms them down. You're not sure the ticks care, but it's oddly soothing to hear her chant about leaving the skin behind. Fleas are the most unpredictable. They jump, they hide, they bite. You've spent many a night snapping awake, smacking your leg, only to find nothing but a welt. One of the elders insists the best solution is sleeping on crushed juniper branches. The smell deters them. The pokiness, unbearable. You tried it once, spent the night hovering just above your mat, like an anxious bat. Your clothes don't help. Furs are warm, but also cozy hotels for critters. That's why laundry night is so important. The smoke doesn't kill everything, but it does send the bugs packing for a while. Some clever soul even started stuffing lavender and mint into their sleeping roll. Now half the clan smells like a wildflower patch during nap time. It's not perfect, but it helps. Rashes come and go like seasonal fashion. This week, a patch on your thigh. Last week, behind your elbow. Some are from parasites, others from wearing damp clothes too long. You've learned to air out whenever possible. Find a rock, strip down, let the sun work its magic. Privacy? Please. If you're not flashing someone at least once a week, are you even trying? There's also the issue of fungus. Oh yes, the dreaded ring of fire. It loves damp places, like the inside of fur boots, or under the thick leather strap of your water skin. You once developed a nasty case on your lower back. It looked like cave art. You had to sleep face down for days while someone applied a salve made of crushed snail shells and deer bile. Effective, but not romantic. Historians still debate whether early humans understood the cause of infection, but they certainly understood how to treat it. You've seen clay poultices applied to bug bites, herbal smoke wafted under tunics, even salt rubbed into a wound to dry it out, followed by a lot of loud swearing and very little movement. The worst, though? Worms, internal parasites, no way to see them, just a slow hunger, a stomach that swells, a weariness that no amount of sleeping fixes. There's an elder who swears he once passed a worm the length of his forearm. Whether that's true or not, no one has dared ask for details. You sit now, rubbing your arms with charcoal dust mixed with wild garlic oil. It's strong, pungent, but the itching fades, at least for now. You squint at your forearm, just a rash, no legs. You'll survive. Someone nearby yelps and starts stripping. A flea. You all nod. Been there. This is life in the Paleolithic era. You wash when you can. Smoke when you must. Scratch when you need to. It's not about total cleanliness. It's about managing the chaos. Keeping the crawling things from taking over. And every now and then, when you run your fingers through your hair and find nothing, no lice, no fleas, no mystery goo, you feel like royalty. Clean, victorious, and slightly smug. You lean back, lift your arms to the breeze, and let it dry the garlic paste on your skin. For today, the parasites are losing. The fire has died down to embers now, casting everything in a soft, amber glow. You sit cross-legged near the cave wall, watching shadows flicker and twist as the flames catch on bits of bark and bone. The air is thick with smoke, crushed herbs, and the quiet buzz of tired conversation. You've done your daily cleaning, scraped, soaked, smoked, scratched, and yet part of you still feels uncertain. Because in this world, hygiene isn't just about the physical. It's also spiritual, invisible, woven into dreams and fears. And tonight, as one of the elders begins to hum, you feel the old superstitions rising like mist. She kneels near the fire, tossing something into the embers. A pinch of dried root, maybe, or powdered shell. It crackles, releasing a faint, sweet scent. She mutters something about keeping the stink demons at bay. You smile gently. You've heard this one before. In your clan, smells are more than just inconvenience. They're omens. A sudden sour scent in the wind? Bad luck. A waft of burnt feathers during sleep? A spirit passing through. The sweat of a fevered hunter? A warning that a soul is loosening. And washing too much? That's risky. Some believe the body's natural funk protects you, that your scent is part of your identity, a shield. Wash it away too often, and the forest spirits won't recognize you. Or worse, something else might. You remember a tale told around this very fire. A man who bathed daily in spring water, rubbed flower oil behind his ears, wore only the freshest furs. And one night, the earth opened under him, swallowed whole. The lesson? Smell too clean, and even your ancestors will think you're a ghost. Historians still argue whether these beliefs stemmed from health concerns, social customs, or ancient ritual. But in your world, it's all tangled up. A clean body feels better, but too clean, and people get suspicious. You need a little soot, a little grease, just enough to remind the spirits that you're real, that you still belong here. That's why some people only bathe after certain moons, or why others wear a small pouch of smell catchers, herbs, animal hair, even dried dung, tied to their belts. It's not fashion, it's protection. You reach for your own pouch now. Inside, a withered leaf, a pebble from your birth cave, and a chunk of pine sap that smells like childhood. You crush the sap between your fingers and rub it across your chest. Sticky? Yes. But grounding. Familiar. Yours. There's also the belief that certain illnesses come from being too clean. You've heard whispers. His fever came because he washed during a thunderstorm. She caught the skin curse after using river water under a full moon. Logical? Not really. But in a world where cause and effect are mostly mystery, it's comforting to think you can keep danger away by following a few simple rules. One of the older men in the clan hasn't washed in weeks. Not since his brother died. He sits by the fire, covered in a layer of ash and silence. Washing invites forgetting, he mutters once. No one argues. You remember another superstition? Don't burn your hair. The smell carries your spirit to the sky too early. That's why every grooming session, ends with a small burial of shed hair and nails, usually beneath a sacred rock or twisted tree. You've done it a dozen times. It feels odd at first, then strangely respectful. Even lice get a kind of ritual. When you pick them from your scalp, you flick them into the fire and spit afterward. Twice. Once for yourself, once for the lice. So they don't find their way back, your aunt says. You laugh, but you still spit, just in case. Dreams matter too. If you dream of washing in clear water, it means change is coming. If the water is cloudy, trouble. If it's warm, a visitor. If it's ice cold, watch your health. The dream interpreters, usually the older women, take these visions seriously. They'll tell you what leaf to chew, what fire to avoid, even where not to walk for a few days. Historians often dismiss these beliefs as folklore, but you know better. In a world with no medicine, no doctors, and no science textbooks, belief is survival. A dirty charm around your neck might seem silly, but if it keeps your courage steady on a dark path, that's real enough. Tonight, someone begins a quiet chant. It's the cleansing prayer, mumbled before sleep, not to cleanse the body, but the spirit. It talks of rivers, of fire, of the wind carrying away bad breath and broken thoughts. You hum along softly, fingers tracing the soot line on your arm. Even your sleeping position follows a kind of hygiene logic. Face east, toward the morning light, so the night spirits can pass over you without stopping. Lie with your feet pointed toward the cave mouth, so dreams can exit easily. You settle down now, curling beneath your fur wrap, head resting on bundled hides. The air smells of smoke, pine, sweat, and stories. All familiar, all grounding. You feel safe, not because you're spotless, but because you're seen, touched, tended to, part of something bigger. And tomorrow, you'll rise again. Maybe bathe, maybe not. Maybe just smear a little ash under your chin and whisper thanks to the river. Clean enough, just enough. There's a quiet buzz in the air today. Not bees, though one did try to fly into your ear earlier, but something else, a kind of nervous energy. People are brushing their hair, dusting off their hides, and dabbing ash behind their ears with far more care than usual. Tonight's the gathering. Once every few moons, nearby clans meet. There's feasting, firelight, storytelling, and, yes, flirting. So naturally, everyone wants to smell a little less like wet mammoth and more like, please stand downwind of me and maybe fall in love. You're no exception. You start your preparations early, kneeling by the river to splash your face and neck. The water is warm from the sun, and for a moment, you imagine you're someone from the future, someone with scented soap and soft towels. Then you accidentally inhale a bug and remember exactly where you are. Next, grooming. You pick burrs out of your hair, smooth down the wilder tufts, and tie the front back with a twist of sinew. Functional, but also flattering. You rub a mix of animal fat and crushed flowers on your collarbones, just enough to hint that you've thought about hygiene without trying too hard. Historians still argue whether Paleolithic courtship involved scent-based attraction, but given the state of your armpits most days, any attempt to improve your aroma feels like a step in the right direction. You've even brushed your teeth, twice. With the fancy chewing stick, the one from the bitter tree that makes your mouth feel like it's been scrubbed by a disgruntled pine cone. Worth it, though. Your breath smells vaguely herbal, slightly less mammalian. Your tunic? Carefully chosen. It's a pelt you've only worn a few times, still supple, still mostly unstained. You drape it just so, letting the cleaner side face out. A few beads along the collar. Subtle flare. Like saying, yes, I did fight off a boar last week, but also, I care about presentation. Others are preparing too. You see friends scraping their nails clean, checking each other's backs for ticks, even braiding each other's hair with tiny bones and feathers. It's not vanity, it's strategy. Looking cared for means looking respected. Looking cleanish means I am worth your time and won't make you itch. High praise around here. You spot someone nearby, applying a poultice of mint and mud to their feet, both deodorant and deterrent for those with a thing for clean toes. Another rubs their hands with burnt sage, letting the scent rise in lazy wisps. Everyone has their rituals. You stick to yours. A touch of ash across the bridge of your nose and a smear of sweetgrass behind the ears. The "don't run away from me" combo. And then there's the posture, the confidence. Even the most rugged, scratched-up hunter stands a little taller today. You carry yourself differently when you know you've scraped the worst grime off your neck and tied your hair out of your eyes. It's like a tiny spell of self-belief, summoned by twigs, fire, and that blessed sliver of good lighting. As night falls, the clearing glows with firelight. The visiting clan arrives in a flurry of drum beats and laughter. They look good. Someone smells like burnt honey. Another has actual feathers woven into their beard. Show-offs. Still, you hold your own. You offer greetings, a few jokes, and that quiet, clean confidence that comes from knowing you spent a solid 15 minutes today scraping your feet on a rock. You talk. You share food. You listen to stories. At one point, someone reaches out to trace the beads at your collarbone. Smooth, they say. You smile. Success. Historians often forget the emotional power of hygiene in early societies. They focus on disease prevention, rituals, survival. But in your world, cleaning up, even just a bit, is a form of love. For yourself, for others. A way to say, I want to be seen. I want to be known. And I don't want you to gag when I sit next to you. Later that night, after the stories end and the fire dims, you walk back to the cave slowly, heart full, steps light. The air is cool. You pass someone humming as they rinse their face with morning's leftover rainwater. You nod to them. They nod back. No words needed. You settle into your bedding, pulling your furs close. They're a little cleaner than usual. Or maybe you just feel cleaner. Either way, it's enough. Because even in the Paleolithic world, even with lice and ash and awkward foot scrubbings, you've found your rhythm. A way to be human. A way to be seen. And as you close your eyes, you think of the elders' words. You don't have to shine. Just don't stick. Clean enough.